Let's talk with Andrew Love.
They have to get off their polyunsaturated fatty acids and get out there in the street and protest what he's doing. And they have to protest in great numbers so that he can't say it's just a few people. No, risk getting arrested, because that's what it's going to take. People who are willing to be arrested in order to keep the United States united. Because what he's trying to turn us into the divided states of America instead of the United States of America. And we all have to realize that.
Looking very divided these days.
Only because we allow ourselves to be divided. We could say, no, Donzie, baby, you're not going to do that. We know that you aren't real bright. We know that you know how to make money. We know that you know how to literally make money. A plant was trying to come to Osage, Iowa to produce Bitcoins. He's absolutely producing money, a new form of money. And it has already made him billions of dollars. Are you going to allow this to happen? Are you going to accept that as the currency for the United States of America? Think about that. Think about Bitcoins and think about how much money he's making off Bitcoins. This makes no sense. It
really doesn't.
No, it makes no sense. It is possible. It is happening because education has done a bad job. We haven't educated our students properly, and we haven't had, in the last 25 years, a war that would force us to suffer, to go without, to contribute, or to send our sons.
Now, I've been studying a little the process of the constitutional thing. Now he try to get rid of Social Security and all the welfare stuff, but that's a part of the Constitution that I read thanks to you. Getting rid of welfare and Social Security is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
They're in the preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. He has violated every one of the principles in the preamble to the Constitution. I have it written out here someplace. It's in the other room. I'll have to get, because I tried to remember it and I get it in my head and then I get on the television. I can't remember what I was thinking. People get the preamble of the Constitution, have it framed, hang it somewhere where you can see every time you look around and read that preamble.
I know how you feel about Bibles in the schools. We talked about it in the last show.
You don't have to have Bibles in schools. We teach religion in the school all the time. Where do you think we got the names for the days of the week and the months of the year?
Where they're doing.
What do you think 2025 means? If that isn't 2025 years since the birth of Mary and Sarah and Laura, that's the birth of Jesus Christ. We teach religion in the schools all day, every day.
Let me ask you this. I've seen a lot of videos and I've heard from a lot of people I work with, a lot of who are educators about, they have family members who are Trump supporters or were, because they wanted to make America great again. But now.
Wait. MAGA doesn't stand for Make America Great Again.
Right. No.
Make Americans grovel again.
They were supporters.
Right.
So they voted for Trump, and now they're disturbed because they're older, and their Social Security is getting cut. Their prescriptions are through the roof, and so many things that they did not consider when they casted that vote. I think there are some folks that are still, standing by their decision. I think to save face, but you live with the decisions you make.
I don't mind if they live with the decisions they make, but
right.
I and my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren are going to have to live with the bad decisions that they've made this past year. And those decisions are going to change the way this country operates for at least 4 years. And in 2 years, we will have our primaries. And hopefully people who made bad decisions in the last election will go in and change at least what they can during the primaries. And that will get us ready for the next for the 2 years later, we can elect somebody who truly can be a president of the United States.
I have a question. I might have I think I got a good idea what we can do to make it, America grovel again. Is that all the immigrants we should let we should let all the good old voters take their spot. Like to go out there in the hot sun and pick their tomatoes and all that good stuff. I know we should replace it with those. Since they said they stole the jobs, I think all the Trump supporters should be willing to step up and take them jobs.
Well, there
that they
are.
claim they got. Just go out there and work for that little low pay wage.
They're not going to do that, and they're not.
But they said they stole their jobs.
Dying. They've tried that already. Crops are dying. They're not as efficient. Like they see it, but
it's a nice thought, though. But yeah, Trump administration, in my view, it's an oligarchy, but it's also a neo-Nazi movement. It's a white supremacist movement. And here we are. And Trump doesn't care about race, in my view. He doesn't care about anybody except for power, money, greed. I don't even think he cares about white people. I just think he exploits white people in order to get those things that he wants. And I think that white people have used Trump to get what they want, which is also about money, power, greed. So it's a win-win for them in a way. But the sad thing is that Trump doesn't care about poor white people. Trump only cares about billionaires and himself. And that's about it.
Trump's problem is he's low IQ.
He is. He really is.
Number two, and if you haven't read the book, When at Times the Mob is Swayed, get it and read it. Because in that book on page 20, it says, in his bedside table in a locked drawer, Donald Trump has a copy of the book, A New World Order, the contents of which are written by Adolf Hitler.
Yep.
He was born, Trump is 78? So he's 13 years younger than I am. So that means he was born after the end of the Second World War. He has no idea what he's talking about when he talks about the Second World War. I remember that. I was born in 1933. I remember what those war years were like, and I remember what it was like for my uncles and my cousins when they had to fight in that war. Trump has no idea of what that was about. And the people who have been raised in the last 50 years in this country, for the most part, know nothing about what it is like to go through a war. To go through wartime is totally different from what you go through in peacetime. They have no idea what that could happen. If they would go someplace where there's a war going on, if they would go to Ukraine and live for a week, they would come back and say, we don't want a war in this country. We've got to put a stop to this stuff. We are not going to let this country be overrun by a fool, as they're trying to make happen in Ukraine. People need to go to Ukraine and stay for a week and then come back and tell us whether they really want to put this country through a war. I don't think they do.
I don't know, people. I mean, I don't want to say people are not capable, but of really, yeah. If they went to Ukraine, it's like I try to teach my students. I try to get them to imagine. We're working on a letter from the past, is what it's titled, A Letter from the Past, where they have to write a letter or a journal entry about an event from the past, whether it's slavery, civil rights movement, Jesse Owens, and write as if you're there.
Can't do it.
They can't. And so as an educator, as a teacher, I said, okay, read the articles, do your research.
No. Put them through it. Put them through it. Put them through it in the classroom. Separate them according to the color of their eyes. Treat the people, blue-eyed people, as we have treated people of color in this country for the last 300 years. Put them through the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise for a day. Watch them realize that, I have no problem. I have no power here. This woman's a nut, but she's got the power. So I have to do what she tells me to. I have to believe that I'm stupid. I have to write down those words that she's saying, and I don't know how to spell them. And she's telling me I don't know how to spell them because I'm dumb, but because I don't know how to spell them because I never heard them before. They don't mean anything to me. Put them through one period of the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise and watch them squirm and watch them learn. And then watch the rest of the teachers say, who do you think you are?
Not the teachers, but the parents.
Oh yeah. They'll say, how dare you do that to those little children for a day? And you'll say, wait just a minute. How dare do you allow these other teachers to do that to every child of color in this building for a lifetime? Don't tell me that one day is too hard for these little pale faces if you are admitting at the same time that darker skinned children can live with it for a lifetime and are expected to smile and be grateful.
Yes.
No, see, if you'd have to have a pale faced person with you, because since you aren't pale faced, they will blame you, what you did, on the color of their skin, of your skin, instead of giving you credit for doing something that would help those students to realize what's going on and to understand why people are angry.
Yes. Now, so when I had an incident a couple months ago with parents who were quite disturbed behind a lesson I was trying to teach their daughter for a bit, something they did that they shouldn't have done. So I made a lesson out of it. And when I tell you, it was like they were trying to go after me, like, and calling the school district, the principal. And I was just this terrible person that didn't like children, and all because, like, you're doing them as parents, you're doing your daughters a disservice right now, because in the real world, this is not going to fly, and they need to know that this behavior is not acceptable. But you know what I was told by certain folks was that these are different kind of parents. These are different. They're different. Like, almost like you don't want to do this, that's what we're dealing with, entitled children.
But,
as guys, as both
until
of you,
until they've had the experience of going through it for a day, I'm telling you, the kids that went through the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise, and well, the third group that went through it, some of them came to my house, came to Riceville in August to meet me, to visit about what had happened to them in the interim. They're over 60 years old now. And down there, and we sat down and we talked about what they had learned when they were in third grade. And one of them said, "Mrs. Elliott, you taught us the truth. You taught us truth, Mrs. Elliott. That was really hard on us." I said, "It was, wasn't it? But have you used it since?" He said, "Yeah, it's the best thing I ever learned. It's the best thing that ever happened to me." They remember to this day what happened to them when they were in third grade and were being treated unfairly on the basis of a physical characteristic over which they have absolutely no control. Now, when I do that exercise, and I used to do it with adults every week, several times a week, invariably some pale, stale male, blue-eyed male would come in wearing brown contact lenses. And then somebody who had known him for years would say to me, "That joker's got brown contact lenses in." I'd say, "Leave him alone, watch him squirm." And we'd watch him squirm because we knew that he was scared to death that his friend and his co-workers were going to identify him as being a liar and a cheat. It was just fascinating to watch adult males who are blue-eyed try to be brown-eyed during that exercise. And then I say to them, "How long is it going to take you blue-eyed folks to get brown?" And then it's like, "Oh shit, what are we going to do?" "Yeah, folks, you can't get brown. You can lie out on the beach until you are red as lobsters, and you ain't never going to be brown. So you better get used to it. You better realize that in the future, your skin color could be a disadvantage because you are in the minority. Only 15 to 18% of the human population of the earth is classified as white. And it is a misnomer. They are not white, but they are light-skinned enough to call themselves white. Or they're Europeans, so they can call themselves white. It's ridiculous. They aren't white. There are no white people. Get over it, people. And of course, that's the reason I'm banned on most of college and university campuses.
You're still banned?
I'm banned, along with Alice Walker and Mark Twain and Dostoevsky and Jane Elliott are banned on college and university campuses. Have been for 3 years.
What's really sad about it, it's very frustrating to me. I can't imagine, because you two ladies are educators. I cannot imagine the frustration you must feel knowing that they're banning books, that they have banned CRT, that they have all this anti-black, anti-DEI, all this whitewashing of education. Can you imagine if we had the opposite, if we actually took our kids, and I know you guys know this, but just imagine if we actually took the brown-eyed, blue-eyed experiment and implemented it into every classroom in America, and we taught people the truth about American history and about Black history, the actual truth, not the whitewashed bullshit. We taught the kids the truth. We could change our nation and dismantle white supremacy in a few generations. That's a dream.
We could do that in 2 years.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, if we would do that at every grade level for 1 year and the next year repeat it, and the second year it would be like, we're not going to go through this. We know better than to do this. We could change the world if we decided to do it.
I agree. And I've been
One
saying it
person
for
at a time could
years.
change the world. Every one of us could make a difference in the way people behave, the racism they exhibit, and the racism they express when they're in our presence. And that's the reason nobody wants me around. We are so accustomed to making racist statements that to have somebody like me around who recognizes the racism in that statement, they don't want to hear that because I'm going to jump them every time it happens. And that's what we have to have. We have to have educated children who recognize racism, sexism, ageism, homophobia, ethnocentrism, and are ready to label it, to name it, to identify it, and to fight against it. That's what we in this country must be. That's how we must educate. And the word educator means one who leads people out of ignorance. You can't do that by teaching that Columbus discovered America. This place was 15,000 years before Columbus was a gleam in his father's eye. People from Africa discovered that what we call America 15,000 years before Columbus got here. We don't teach the truth in school. We're scared to death to teach the truth because if we teach the truth, we so-called white people will lose our power when we lose our whiteness.
We'll be fired in that part.
Go ahead.
I said, we'll be fired.
Well, yeah.
It's sad. We're going backwards now. We should be going forwards. But in this nation, everybody wants to protect whiteness, protect white supremacy, and they do it consciously, unconsciously. We're all socialized as white people to protect it, and it's so frustrating.
But you know that your beard has some white whiskers in it, but your face isn't white.
That's right.
Right, and your hair is going to be white, but your face is never going to be white. We've got to get over the idea that we are white because we aren't. Jesus,
right.
And why should you be? The whole thing is just so childish and so ridiculous and so absolutely unreal. You have to lie to yourself. When I look in the mirror in the morning, I have to lie to myself and tell myself that I'm young. That won't work, but I at least quit lying to myself about the color of my skin.
Well, you're young in mind and spirit, Jane.
Well, no, I'm as old as Methuselah, and I'd rather be old because young people don't know a hell of a lot.
They don't.
No, they don't. And if we older people don't hit the books with them, they aren't going to know a hell of a lot. If we keep allowing people to ban books and refuse to let children read things like To Kill a Mockingbird, we are telling our children we don't want you to learn enough to make this world a better place in the future.
Yeah.
When somebody comes in, I remember when I was doing my student teaching, and the third grade teacher was also the principal of the school. And one day the group came in to go through the library to take out all the books in the third grade library that were about communism. And she let them in. They took all the books that they thought were about communism and stacked them up on the top of the bookshelves. And she said, "Is that all?" They said, "Yes, those are the books you aren't allowed, these kids aren't allowed to see." She said, "Thank you." She ushered them to the door. She said, "Thank you very much." She closed the door behind them. Then she turned to those of us who were student teachers and said, "Put those books back on the shelf and let's go to work."
Yeah.
We put those books back on the shelf and we went back to work, and those kids read those books. And that's what teachers have to do today. When somebody comes to your classroom and says, "We're taking these books out of your room," you can say, "Touch those books and I'll call the police because those books belong to this school district. And if you take them out of here, you are committing an act of theft. That's against the law. These books were purchased with taxpayer money for the school district, for these students. Do not put a hand on any of the books in my classroom because I will call the police." And that's what everybody should do. We should say, "You're not going to ban books in my classroom," because every book that is chosen for my classroom was chosen by people who are members of the Library Association and know what children can read and should be reading in order to make the world a better place in the future. We're going to leave those books where they are. Now, if you're afraid of what's written there, don't pick it up. Because it'll come through the cover and come right into your hands and into your head. And there's nothing else in your head. So finally, there'll be something in your empty head. You have to be insulting about this because they're insulting you when they come to you and say, "You aren't going to be allowed to decide what these children have the right to learn. You only have a degree in education," right? Most of them haven't graduated from high school. Many of these people haven't graduated from high school, and they certainly haven't graduated from college, and they certainly don't have an education degree. They've got no business telling you how to teach or what to teach or what books your students should be allowed to read. Shut up, Jane. I can hear you, Daryl.
All right, Miss Jane. So I'm going to do that. Now, when you see me on the news, okay?
Hey, when you do that, you call me.
I will.
And we'll be on the news together. And
Hey, I'll be there too. You call me too.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Oh, me too.
call a bunch of us, and we'll all be there to say, how damn foolish can you people be if you think that you know more about teaching than this woman who has a degree in education, and this other woman who is 91 years old and has forgotten more since breakfast than you're ever going to learn.
Hey, Jan, I got a question to ask you. I don't know if it'll be a popular question, but we know how a lot of people like celebrities and stuff like that how much influence they have on the young generation. What do you think about? I know y'all probably heard. We think about old Snoop Dogg going back on his word and performing for the dump Trump man, for an inauguration party, whatever it was. He said he a long time ago talked about people say anybody perform. He said yes, about and all that stuff. The next thing you know, he the main one performing for him. What do you think about that?
I think about him the same way I think about J.D. Vance, who hated Donald Trump until Donald Trump offered him the vice presidency. There are people who will give up their morals, who will give up their ethics in order to be close to somebody who has money and power. That's what I think about them. And I think then that they lose all the power of the people that would have followed them if they hadn't gone to the dark side. Make no mistake about this. People who give up their morals and their ethics in order to be in Donald Trump's limelight aren't somebody you want to follow.
And the sad thing about it is he doesn't care anything about them.
What?
The sad part about it is that he cares nothing.
Oh, heavens no. No, Donald Trump cares nothing about anyone who can't line his pockets. Make no mistake about it. If you can't line his pockets, you are of no use to him whatsoever. Even if you are a very wealthy, very, very wealthy person of color, you still are a person of color. So he'll take your money, but you won't get it back, and you won't get any good out of it because you're still a person of color. And he doesn't realize that he too is a person of color, and his grandparents were immigrants too.
Same with Elon. Same guy.
Oh,
same personality in many ways.
You need to leave lone scum out of any discussion because that's all he is lone scum. Make no mistake about that. This boy is a boy grown tall, and I understand that he spends a lot of time on some really interesting kind of drug.
Ketamine or something.
Yeah, somebody.
Ketamine, yeah.
He's on something, and you watch him, and you think, what in the devil? And then you realize, okay, he's high on something. And
he's also I believe a legit neo-Nazi. No joke.
Well, I realize that, but then so is Trump.
Absolutely.
Trump would like to be what Hitler was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should allow him to happen to him what happened to Hitler. But we should not allow him to ruin this country first. We should put him on a short course to become what Hitler became, which was dead. Now, I'm not encouraging anyone to shoot Donald Trump, because if you did, he would be a hero. You would make a martyr out of him, and we would spend the rest of our lives celebrating Donald Trump Day once a year. That's the thing we absolutely have to avoid. And the only way we can avoid that is to have people realize how really ignorant, how really unethical, how really immoral he is.
The salute that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, he knows what that salute meant, and he knew what it meant when he did it. And so does Lone Scum. Lone Scum knew what he was doing when he did it. And he'll do it over and over if we'll allow him to. Because he thinks he has enough money to buy the right to be a fool, and a damn fool, in the United States of America, and lead us into the kind of situation that Hitler led the Germans into from 1933 until 1945.
Is there a way we can get Trump out of here before it's too late? Is there a way we can impeach him and get him out, or is it impossible to impeach this guy?
No. What you have to do is get citizens of the United States who absolutely refuse to believe a word he says, and absolutely refuse to defeat him at every opportunity. You have to have people in the Senate and our two senators from Iowa are embarrassing me. Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst are embarrassment right now. I'm just sick about what they are allowing this man to do and what they are voting yes on. Because those two people in the Senate could see to it that he didn't succeed anymore. It would just take those two people and three others. Five of them could defeat those. There are five senators that could defeat this man if they would develop a backbone and remember what Iowans are about. Iowans are not about allowing somebody come in and be their dictator, and that's what Donald Trump wants to be, a dictator.
So in the for the midterms, we all need to vote Democrat.
If those are the only two choices, what are you going to do? You're going to vote Republican, or Democrat?
Oh, I'll probably vote Democrat just to get.
Well, even if you see, I don't believe everything that the Democrats are saying because I know that they're no better in many ways than the Republicans are. But I know what the Republicans have allowed this man to do, and what 42% of them have allowed him to do, and will continue to allow him to do. So you have to become a member of the other party so that you have enough numbers. You have the numbers to defeat this man. He's not a man; he's a boy grown tall. And he thinks like a boy, and we all ought to realize that none of us want a boy for a president.
I feel like there are a lot of people that are having regrets about voting for Trump, not voting for the Democrats.
There are going to be a whole lot more of them. Everybody who is on Social Security is going to be really regretful. All of them who have children in school who need some of those child support things. A whole lot of women, a whole lot of people who are disabled vets are going to be really sorry that they voted for Mr. Trump. The people who need some help are going to get no help, and those are the ones who, because he appeals to those. Right. He appeals to them. He says, I can solve these problems. I can make America great again. You cannot make a place great when you do not realize how great it has been in the past, how great it really could be in the future if you do the right thing.
And how
studied the past.
And how it became great to begin with.
Yeah, well, he doesn't, nobody has ever said to him, those who forget the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them.
Mm-hmm.
From 1933 until 1945, I watched my father just ranting about what Adolf Hitler was doing because he listened to the radio and he saw him on the newsreels when he went to the movie. And he would come home just infuriated by what Adolf Hitler was doing. That was in 1933 until 1945. Now, here I am at 91, and the President of the United States is causing me to say the same kinds of things about him that my father said about Adolf Hitler.
Wow.
People, think about that. 91 years. In 91 years, this thing has turned around so that we are back at the beginning. Those who forget the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them. And that's exactly what we are doing. If you don't teach history, and you don't force kids to live through something that will give them some idea about how it feels to be something other than a white kid in Iowa, if you let them think that everybody has the same privileges that they have, and that everybody is as happy and as lucky and as healthy as they are, they go through life thinking nobody has anything to complain about. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm white and I'm all right. And if you are complaining, it's because you're the wrong color. Don't blame it on me. Blame it on your skin color. Instead of teaching kids history and how this whole mess came about, who Torquemada was, and how dumb this whole thing is, teachers have to start teaching the truth about history and then creating experiences in the classroom that make history come alive for those kids. You can teach about that, the things that happen in history, but until you allow your students to have an experience like what some of those kids did those children did during the Second World War, or some of those parents did during the Second World War, or some of those people in Japan lived through during the Second World War, until you create some experiences for these so-called white kids who aren't really white, you're never going to get them educated. You're going to get them indoctrinated. You're going to get them trained. You're going to get them taught, but you won't get them educated. Educated means to lead them out of ignorance, and you can't do that by banning books and banning history.